The massive alien vessel descended through Earth's clouds like a cathedral made of starlight, its crystalline hull refracting sunbeams into rainbow patterns across the sky. News outlets worldwide scrambled to broadcast what would become humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Ambassador Ziktal of the Meridian Empire emerged from the ship at the United Nations headquarters, his towering frame encased in what appeared to be living crystal that shifted colors with each movement. Behind him followed a delegation of beings so diverse they seemed pulled from humanity's wildest science fiction dreams. Ethereal gas clouds contained in environmental suits, insectoid creatures with multifaceted eyes, and something that looked suspiciously like a walking tree. "Greetings, primitive inhabitants of the third planet," Ziktal announced, his words translated into perfect English by a small device floating near his head. His voice carried the weight of cosmic authority. "I am Ambassador Ziktal, speaking for the Galactic Council of 47 Worlds. After extensive deliberation, we have reached a momentous decision." UN Secretary-General Martinez stepped forward on trembling legs, flanked by world leaders who had been hastily summoned from every corner of the globe. Cameras from every major news network captured the moment as she approached the beings who had traveled across the stars. "Today marks a new era for your species," Ziktal continued, his crystalline features radiating what might have been benevolence. "The Council has voted unanimously to extend the protection of our vast civilization to your vulnerable world. No longer will Earth stand alone in the cosmic darkness, defenseless against the countless perils that lurk among the stars." The assembled human dignitaries exchanged nervous glances. This was the moment they had prepared for, dreamed of, and feared in equal measure. "We are deeply honored by your generous offer," Martinez replied, her diplomatic training keeping her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. "However, before we can properly consider such a significant arrangement, we have what we believe is a perfectly reasonable question." Ziktal's compound eyes glittered with what his species might have considered amusement. These primitive creatures were even more naive than the intelligence reports had suggested if they needed to ask questions about such an obviously beneficial arrangement. "Speak your inquiry, small being," he said with barely concealed condescension. Martinez took a deep breath that would change the course of galactic history. "From whom exactly are you protecting us?" The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened aboard the colossal mothership Eternal Harmony, a vessel so massive it had its own weather systems. The council chamber, normally a place of dignified deliberation, now buzzed with panicked whispers in 47 different languages as representatives scrambled to understand what had just happened on the planet below. Ambassador Ziktal stood at the center of the circular chamber, his crystalline exoskeleton having lost its earlier luster and now appearing dull gray with stress. Around him, the assembled delegates represented the pinnacle of galactic civilization, or so they had always believed. "Let me understand this correctly," bellowed High Counselor Graxmore from his elevated platform, his massive tentacles writhing in what his species displayed as extreme agitation. "These primitive humans not only questioned our generous offer, but demanded specifics?" "They want documentation," Ziktal repeated miserably, his voice echoing strangely in the vast chamber. "Complete threat assessments, historical incident reports, casualty statistics, and something they called actionable intelligence regarding these alleged space pirates we mentioned." A collective groan of dismay rose from the assembly, creating a cacophony of alien distress calls. The Vorthian delegate had begun stress molting in real time, leaving a trail of shed exoskeleton fragments across his seat. The gelatinous representative from Kepler 442b simply deflated like a punctured balloon, his environmental suit making unfortunate squelching sounds. In 3 millennia of galactic diplomacy, no species has ever requested follow-up information, whispered Counselor Yathara, her voice barely audible above the din. They see our superior technology, accept our protection, and gratefully pay the tribute fees. It's a perfectly reasonable arrangement that has maintained galactic peace for tribute. The crisp human voice sliced through the chamber's chaos like a plasma cutter through tissue paper. Every alien head, appendage, and sensory organ turned toward the entrance, where Dr. Webb stood flanked by Martinez and General Morrison, somehow having bypassed 3 separate levels of military-grade security. "How did you penetrate our defensive systems?" Zixtal stammered, his translator unit producing several confused error beeps. "Your airlock security protocols are embarrassingly outdated," Dr. Webb interrupted, with the casual confidence of someone who had just solved a puzzle that had stumped an entire civilization. "Also, your password was literally password 123 in 17 different languages. Now, about this tribute system you just mentioned." The atmosphere in the council chamber had shifted from panic to something approaching existential dread. High Counselor Graxmore's tentacles had ceased their agitated writhing and now hung limply around his bulbous form, occasionally twitching as if trying to process information that fundamentally challenged everything he understood about galactic civilization. "Now wait just 1 cosmic minute," Graxmore sputtered, his species equivalent of nervous laughter creating an unsettling bubbling sound. "This is not some crude scam as you so inelegantly describe it. This is a legitimate protective service with a 3,000-year track record of maintaining galactic peace and stability." Dr. Webb consulted her tablet with the casual efficiency of someone reading a grocery list rather than dismantling millennia of interstellar politics. "According to your own meticulously kept records, the last actual space pirate attack occurred exactly 743 standard galactic years ago. The perpetrator was one Zix the mildly annoying, who stole his cousin's cargo transport containing approximately 47 tons of premium space cabbage. Space cabbage represents a significant agricultural export," protested the Kepler delegate, his environmental suit inflating with indignation. "The cargo was voluntarily returned within 6 hours," Dr. Webb continued mercilessly, "along with a handwritten apology note and a batch of homemade space cookies as compensation for the inconvenience. Before that incident, the previous pirate activity was logged as a bureaucratic error where someone accidentally filed their legitimate salvage claim in the wrong administrative sector. General Morrison had commandeered one of the chamber's holographic displays and was methodically scrolling through what appeared to be an endless database of threat classifications. Your threat assessment matrix is fascinating reading. Category 1 threats, actual dangerous pirates with confirmed hostile intent. Current active count, 0. Category 2 threats, minor criminals and petty thieves. Current count, 3 individuals, all of whom are currently serving rehabilitation sentences in minimum security facilities. He paused dramatically before continuing. Category 3 threats, potential future risks and emerging concerns. This category appears to include such terrifying possibilities as unexpected cosmic weather patterns, administrative processing delays, interdimensional paperwork mix-ups, and, he squinted at the display, humans asking inconveniently specific questions. The entry glowed ominously red in the holographic display, pulsing like a warning beacon. President Chen nearly choked on her recently acquired alien coffee. "We're actually classified as a Category 3 galactic threat?" "You weren't supposed to access that particular file," muttered, his exoskeleton now cycling through colors that didn't exist in any Earth-based spectrum. Dawn broke across the galactic sector to find the Galactic Council in what could only be described as a state of absolute, unmitigated chaos. Emergency communication arrays blazed with activity as news of humanity's revelations spread through subspace channels faster than a supernova's shockwave. Incoming priority transmissions from every single member world, announced Communications Officer Bliptar, his voice cracking under the strain of processing 47 simultaneous diplomatic crises. His three-eyed face had cycled through every color in his species' emotional spectrum at least twice. The Centaurians are demanding immediate financial audits of all protection expenditures over the past century. The Vega colonies have formally requested refunds for their last 3 years of tribute payments. The Andromedans have somehow retained legal counsel from Earth and are threatening class action litigation. High Counselor Graxmore's massive form had shifted to what his species referred to as catastrophic existential crisis purple, a color so rare that most linguists had assumed it was mythical. How did this information propagate across interstellar distances so rapidly? Dr. Webb glanced up from the alien communication console she had been casually reprogramming, her fingers dancing across interfaces designed for beings with entirely different appendage structures. Oh, we may have live-streamed yesterday's entire diplomatic exchange. Humans have this peculiar obsession with governmental transparency and public accountability. Your universal translation matrix made it surprisingly simple to broadcast simultaneously to every world in your communication network. You broadcast our private council session to the entire galaxy? Zuxtal's shriek reached frequencies that several species used for mating calls. 14 billion viewers across 47 worlds and counting, General Morrison added with the satisfaction of someone who had just accomplished something historically significant. The footage has achieved what humans call viral status. There are already holographic memes circulating through your networks. He held up his tablet, displaying a three-dimensional image of High Counselor Graxmore with text reading. When someone actually reads the fine print on your 3,000-year-old scam. This represents the complete collapse of established galactic order, Counselor Yithara moaned, her normally composed demeanor cracking under the weight of constitutional crisis. 3 millennia of carefully maintained diplomatic stability utterly destroyed by aggressive fact-checking. Actually, President Chen interrupted with the tone of someone about to propose something that would either save or completely revolutionize galactic civilization. We have a comprehensive proposal that might interest you. 6 hours into what galactic historians would later designate as the week humanity accidentally conquered the galaxy through superior customer service, the command center aboard the Eternal Harmony had undergone a transformation that defied every principle of established xenobiological cooperation theory. Human technicians swarmed across alien control surfaces like highly caffeinated ants, their Earth-manufactured equipment jerry-rigged to interfaces that had never been designed to accommodate species with merely 2 arms and a distressing tendency to ask follow-up questions. Cables snaked between consoles in configurations that would have horrified the original designers, while holographic displays flickered with data streams that actually made sense for the first time in centuries. Comprehensive status report, General Morrison barked with the authoritative tone of someone who had somehow assumed operational command through the simple expedient of being competent in a crisis. Excellent news and catastrophically terrible news, Dr. Webb announced cheerfully, her hands simultaneously operating 3 different holographic interfaces while somehow managing to consume what appeared to be an alien equivalent of a sandwich. We've successfully identified and cataloged all major threats within this galactic sector using your own sensor networks properly calibrated. The problematic aspect is that there are significantly more than the 17 we initially discovered. Define significantly more, Graxmore requested with the weary resignation of someone whose worldview had been systematically demolished over the course of a single solar cycle. 234 immediate extinction-level threats, approximately 1,500 moderate to severe hazards requiring active monitoring, and 1 entire classification category that our xenobiological team has professionally designated as "What the absolute hell is that thing and why is it moving toward inhabited systems?" Zeikstel's exoskeleton had achieved a color that his species typically reserved for religious experiences or complete mental breakdowns. Such extensive threats are impossible. Our long-range detection arrays would have identified any significant dangers across multiple parsecs. Your long-range sensors are calibrated exclusively to detect large metallic objects moving in predictable trajectories, interrupted Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, Earth's newly appointed Chief Systems Analyst, without bothering to look up from her console. They completely fail to register biological threats, energy-based entities, spatial anomalies, anything employing stealth technology, interdimensional incursions, or temporal distortions. Energy-based entities? The blob creature quivered with what might have been existential terror. "Oh, absolutely," Dr. Webb replied with disturbing casualness. "There's an entire thriving civilization of plasma-based life forms currently residing within your primary solar furnace. They've been attempting to establish diplomatic contact for approximately 4 centuries, but they're somewhat confused about why you persistently ignore their communication attempts." 3 days into what historians would eventually commemorate as the week humanity revolutionized galactic governance through aggressive competence, the command center aboard the Eternal Harmony had evolved into something resembling a cross between a high-tech crisis management facility and the universe's most caffeinated diplomatic summit. Coffee makers hummed alongside alien atmospheric processors, while human technicians had somehow convinced the ship's replicators to produce adequate approximations of Earth cuisine. The result was a workspace that actually functioned efficiently for the first time in the vessel's 3-century operational history. "Comprehensive update on the arithmetician situation," Dr. Webb announced, expertly juggling 3 separate communication channels while simultaneously consuming what appeared to be an alien approximation of a turkey sandwich. "Positive development. They demonstrate no hostile intentions whatsoever. Concerning development, they've expressed strong desires to optimize every inhabited planet's orbital mechanics for what they term mathematical elegance and computational efficiency. Translate that into practical consequences for those of us bound by physical laws," requested Counselor Yathara, who had appointed herself as primary liaison to the humans after witnessing them accomplish more meaningful governance in 3 standard days than the Council had managed in 3 consecutive centuries. "Your homeworld would be restructured into a perfect geometric sphere, and your planetary year would be precisely calibrated to exactly 365 standard rotations," Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez explained, with the patience of someone who had been fielding increasingly surreal diplomatic queries all morning. "No more inconvenient leap years or seasonal variations." "That sounds surprisingly reasonable," Zeikstel admitted cautiously, his exoskeleton finally beginning to regain some of its original crystalline luster. "They also want to standardize gravitational acceleration at exactly 9.8 meters per second squared across all inhabited celestial bodies," Rodriguez continued. "Ah." Zeikstel's homeworld possessed gravitational conditions roughly equivalent to Earth's lunar surface. His people had evolved as graceful, low-gravity beings. That would present certain biological complications. "We're actively negotiating," President Chen assured him with the diplomatic confidence of someone who had somehow convinced interdimensional mathematical entities to consider the biological implications of universal standardization. "It turns out that beings composed of pure mathematical concepts are surprisingly accommodating when you provide detailed explanations regarding the physiological consequences of their proposed improvements." General Morrison looked up from the tactical display he had been meticulously studying, his expression mixing professional satisfaction with mild bewilderment. "Speaking of successful negotiations, we've established productive diplomatic contact with the interdimensional pirates. Their leader has requested formal discussions regarding what she terms mutually beneficial operational parameters."
6 months later, the newly established Galactic Cooperative conducted its first democratic elections in recorded galactic history, a process so unprecedented that several species had to evolve new neural pathways just to comprehend the concept of voluntary leadership transfer. The results, transmitted instantaneously across 47 star systems through humanity's upgraded communication networks, created seismic shifts in political consciousness that resonated from the galactic core to the outer rim territories. High Counselor Ythera, the former junior counselor who had demonstrated remarkable adaptability by taking copious notes during humanity's systematic dismantling of established governmental incompetence, achieved victory by the most overwhelming margin in documented political history. Her campaign platform of functional government through radical transparency and actual problem-solving resonated powerfully with civilizations that had spent millennia wondering exactly what their tribute payments were purchasing beyond vague promises and bureaucratic inefficiency. The inauguration ceremony took place aboard a revolutionary new space station, jointly constructed using human engineering principles and alien manufacturing capabilities. The structure represented the first galactic facility designed with genuine accessibility considerations, featuring specialized environments suitable for crystalline entities, gas-based life forms, aquatic species, and beings that existed partially in adjacent dimensions. My fellow sapient entities across the vast cosmic tapestry, High Counselor Ythera began her historic acceptance address, her words simultaneously translated into 47 languages and transmitted across multiple dimensional frequencies. Today officially marks the conclusion of what historians will undoubtedly remember as the protection racket era and inaugurates what I confidently term the beginning of governmental systems that actually accomplish meaningful objectives. The subsequent applause generated acoustic vibrations powerful enough to register on seismic equipment across 17 different worlds. Dr. Webb, now bearing the impressive title of Director of Galactic Threat Assessment and Interdimensional Crisis Management, presented the Cooperative's inaugural Comprehensive Security Analysis. I am extraordinarily pleased to report that of the 235 major existential threats we systematically identified 6 months ago, our combined efforts have successfully resolved, contained, or neutralized exactly 212. The remaining 23 threats are currently under active management protocols with clearly defined timelines and measurable success metrics. What happened to that terrifying rogue black hole? Inquired a journalist representing the Vega Colonial News Networks. Successfully relocated to a strategically advantageous position where it now functions as a gravitational anchor point for our newest interstellar trade corridor, General Morrison responded with evident satisfaction. The arithmeticians provided invaluable computational assistance with the stellar engineering calculations. It turns out that interdimensional mathematical entities possess remarkable talents for large-scale cosmic infrastructure projects when approached with appropriate respect and comprehensive safety briefings.